Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. My name is Sharif Mansour.
I'm Jensen Fleming.
And for the last year and a half, we have had a blast at work, getting paid, believe it or not, to build Rovo Agents, and it's been a lot of fun. And so today, Jensen and I are here to share with you guys everything that we've learned. It's probably a bit more than everything that we've learned so far about building no-code agents. So thank you so much for joining us. We couldn't be more excited for Rovo to be available to thousands of our customers. What that means for you is that if you are a Jira, Confluence, Jira Service Management, Premium, or Enterprise customer, we'll be rolling out to you first, and that will happen over the coming weeks and months. And that means you will get enterprise-wide search, chat, and agents, which is now part of a new app called Studio, and we'll talk about that later. So today we're going to focus on that last part, agents specifically, and give you as much information as we can to help you build no-code agents inside your organizations and your teams. We couldn't be more excited for the last few months to see the adoption that Rovo Agents has already had with many of our customers here today. And there are many here that are sitting around the audience that have been helping us throughout the Rovo beta phase and the last few months that have been building agents with us. Today, many of you have deployed thousands of agents across over 100,000 customer workflows in your cloud production instances. What does that mean? You've had thousands of new teammates join a Confluence or Jira workflow and execute a task automatically on a regular basis. And we've been blown away by this number, and this number continues to grow week on week, so thank you so much. We use agents heavily internally inside Atlassian. Andy here runs a team inside Atlassian where they get a lot of requests from other teams for repetitive tasks. And they built an agent to deflect all those continuous, annoying, repetitive questions by automatically creating knowledge-based articles for gaps in their content that comes in. And it saved his team hours and hours of manual work. These two random people also think Rovo Agents are amazing. They say Rovo Agents will help you look amazing in front of your boss, so you definitely want to check them out. And this other random person, who's less reliable, also says Rovo Agents are pretty awesome. I think the previous two before him are more genuine. I would ignore this guy. Let's see how you go. But there are two ways to build Rovo Agents at a really high level. You can build agents with code using Forge, which is our SDK in the cloud platform. And you can build agents with no code, just via configuration through the UI and through the automation UI as well. When we choose one over another, so code agents are excellent if you want to do pretty advanced things, if you want to build a marketplace app, maybe you're building a tailored solution. They're excellent also for internal-only use cases. So you could build a code agent that integrates with your internal systems, makes internal API calls or external API calls to do virtually anything. So this is done with code. And no-code agents, they can't make arbitrary API calls. They only have access to what you give them and the tools that are available to them. But you can prompt them and deploy them through our workflows in Atlassian automation, or let users run them manually through chat or through conversation or through the editor. So today, we're not talking about code-based agents, but we have plenty of documentation and resources online at that bit.ly link there where you can go learn more about that. We're going to talk about the no-code agents, the ones you can create all via the UI in our software. So let's jump straight into it. There are three things we'll cover for you today, a really simple set of steps to help you get the best out of creating a Rovo agent. Firstly, what do you need to do to identify the opportunity? We say, with agents, you can create everything. But the hardest thing is actually you kind of have this blank agent problem, where can I deploy it? What are the opportunities that exist in my business? How do I identify what they are? So we'll go through how to identify those opportunities. And then Jensen will take you through in detail how you can build and prompt them and all the tools that are available to you to make the most out of agents. And when you're ready to get those agents out to your internal teams or your external teams and you want them to use it, how to deploy it, how to test them, and how to get feedback. So let's start off by first identifying the opportunities of what agents can do for you. So the first thing, think of agents as your new virtual teammates. When you get a new teammate that joins your team, what's one of the first few things you do? You give them access to tools. Hey, I'm going to give you access to this app. I'm going to give you access to Figma. I'm going to give you access to Word. Just the same thing, you need to give agents access to different apps. Now, out of the box, without connecting anything else, agents have access to Jira Service Management, Jira Product Discovery, Confluence, the new Atlassian Home app that you heard about, as well as Rovo comes with a browser extension meaning that anywhere your users have the browser extension installed, they can just chat to the agent on the side. That's also available there. Coming very soon, your new digital teammates can also work across Compass, Focus, inside Loom, and Bitbucket as well. So those are the apps that they will appear in and what they have access to. So that's my new employees just joined. I can give them access to those apps. The next thing I need to do is work out what work can I give them? What opportunities exist? So to do this, we have, like every framework in the world, a 3-step framework that will help you identify the best opportunities in your organization. So think of any business workflow you already do within your teams. Write it down. And so let's look at an example here. So we have a team here that receives requests from another team in their Jira, and every month they try to work out which articles they need to write to deflect that work. So how does it work today manually? So each month, someone creates a report of last month's tickets, which Jira work items came in. Let's export that into Jira. Then for each ticket, let's identify what are the top topics, and then go look at our knowledge base and see, has anyone written articles about this? Then we can find inconsistencies or things that need to be updated, and then we create new articles. That's a high-level workflow that a business team would do today. Have a think about your software workflows, your product development workflows, your marketing workflows, whatever it is you're doing, just whiteboard it together as a team. Under each step, write the specific tasks you need to do to complete that step. Okay, so let's use an example here. So how do I get last month's Jira tickets? Well, I need to write some JQL, I need to get a report, and I export it to Excel. How do I identify the tickets for themes? Well, I need to read every single ticket, and then I need to read the issue and the description and the comments and classify that in some way. Those are all the things that I do. Once you've written all the tasks, you can then start to identify, don't forget, you may need to do it over and over again. So if you're going through a lot of Jira tickets, this takes a lot of time, right? It's a very manual and tedious task. And then as a team, circle the opportunities where you have a hunch or you feel like, I think an agent can help with this or AI can help with this. Brainstorm together and whiteboard and circle it. And now you've kind of identified the potential opportunities for your team to speed up that workflow together. All right, so we've identified some opportunities. I need to see an expert. That expert is Jensen. So Jensen, help us work through how we're going to build this agent.
Awesome, sounds good. So let's bring that workflow back up, right? So Sharif circled a few specific cards. We actually can have agents help with a lot more than that. So let's start by looking at creating that report. One of the beautiful things with agents inside of Atlassian products is we don't have to do those queries. We don't have to use like JQL inside of that. We've built all of that for you through natural language. There are plugins that exist inside of these agents. So you don't have to go create that. You just can literally write, find tickets in my project closed in the last 24 hours. You don't have to go farther than that. You don't have to export it. So we read those support tickets. That's step one. Then we realize we need to analyze them and we need to tag them. So we're going to group them into topics, and we're going to actually figure out whether or not these specific topics need new articles, they need edited articles, or they're already good, we don't need to touch them. So after we do that, we'll then search our KB and identify those gaps, right? So we're going to take each of those topics. So hypothetically, let's say I have 50 tickets. 10 of those tickets that were closed were about VPN. 50 were about getting access to some sort of software, et cetera. So we'll take those topics, and then we'll search those, and we'll look across all of our documentation in order to find what has already been written about them, and we'll see if it matches, right? So I think one of the problems with support teams is there's so much knowledge inside of these humans' heads, and they're not writing it down because they just don't have time, right? And so the actual process of writing that article takes so much time, but if they did write it, we'd deflect so many tickets and they wouldn't have to worry about it. So how do we find those gaps and help them? Manually, if you're not using agents, you have to read through all of those, right? Or you have to search for keywords, and you're missing actual sentiment. And the AI can actually look through this and figure out what you're actually talking about and find those gaps where maybe it's not like an exact keyword match. And then after we do that, then we'll have it write the articles, edit the articles over and over and over again with the click of a button, right? So this is where that quote from Andy came up. It was like 136 hours of content that they were able to do from just a handful of tickets. So the next thing we want to talk about is what it has access to, right? So we talked about reading support tickets. So we have in Confluence, you can look at all of these specific objects inside of Confluence. We have all of these things within all of our Jira apps. So within Jira Service Management, Jira Product Discovery, as well as just Jira Software. We also have things in the Home app. So think about your user profiles, your teams, your goals, your projects, the updates on all of these things. we can access those. And we also have that third-party search. So if you remember from all of the other sessions, there's over 50 connectors available. So we can also grab those in as data we can ingest. So we talked about KBs in Confluence, but what if my KB is in Google Docs, right? So we can pull those in as well. You also have access to build custom actions throughout Forge and data connectors, as well as we're adding the ability to upload files to your agents as well. So if you have things in like PDFs and maybe they're not an official source, you can do that. And a quick reminder, don't worry, we respect all user permissions, so you're not getting access to things you shouldn't see. So here's some of those apps that we've added. These are all live now. We have even more coming soon. So we're continuously adding additional connectors for this. I'll wait for you all to take a picture.
It's just taking a photo of me. Not
oh, it's you? Oh, okay.
Yeah. You can go ahead. It's all right.
So let's start with creating that agent, right? So we know there's that blank slate problem. We want to help you get started writing that initial prompt. So you can just go into Studio. This is our new app building framework, right? So you go in and you just write exactly what you want it to do. So I want to look at support tickets we've solved in the last 24 hours and identify common topics. It will write that version 1 of my prompt to help me get started. And I can go ahead and create this agent directly inside of Studio in this building platform. So now we need to set those instructions, right? So it's given me a draft, and I want to jump into specifically what this looks like. So it has written this prompt for me, and let's walk through sort of each of the pieces here. So this agent assists support teams by reviewing these closed tickets, and then when it reviews them, it looks at their summary, their descriptions, the comments on those things, and it groups those into topics. So again, we're going through those steps of that workflow we talked about earlier. And then for each of those topics, it tells me, does it already have a KB and it's up to date? Does it have a KB but it's out of date and we need to update it? Or there's no KB at all? And it tags each of those topics. So we'll dive into this a little bit more later, but this is like a very important piece that allows you to figure out what you want to do with each of the branches of the automation we'll build. So I'm going to pass it back to Sharif, our prompt engineer.
All right. So Jensen showed you the prompt that was generated by the agent, and you can tweak and optimize that. One of the skills you'll all need to learn over time as we interact more with AI is a fancy term called prompt engineering. Just write it on your CV and your LinkedIn, and it looks really smart. And the reality is it feels nothing like engineering. It's just text. It's a lot of text, but it's the art of knowing how to best describe what it is that you're after. How can you best break down those problems so the agent understands exactly what it needs to do? So these are a whole bunch of different prompt tips that we've seen that have helped us build agents that we want to share with you. First of all, just a reminder, AI is only as good as the persona, the goal, and the context you've given it, and the format. Reminder, it's really good if you say, you're an expert at this. This is your current job. Your goal is to do this, and I would like you to do it this way. You know the objectives and key results framework really well. With that in mind, I want you to help me do something, right? So tell AI what it is. And where applicable, give it examples. It's always good to give it an example. You could put sample text. It's also good to give it non-examples. AI works really well when you can give it contrasting options that it can compare or patterns that it can see, that it can follow. It's also very helpful with AI to be concise and break down the steps of how it needs to do something. Now, again, I want you to think about when you have someone join your team and you're explaining to them that process, those flowcharts that we just showed you. What do? You ask them to break it down. First, we're going to do this. Then we're going to do that. We're going to export the file to Excel. And then we're going to group the topics, all the articles into different topics. And then we're going to find the top topics and so forth. That's the kind of stuff you want to write inside your AI prompt. And don't forget to tell the agent what it is and what it isn't. You're a bug master. You're a help desk agent. You are a very funny comedian. Whatever it is you would like to do, have some fun with it. And make sure to remember to tell it what is and what isn't. If you just Google prompt engineering tips, nothing about this is specific to Rovo specifically. This is just something about how you interact with these large language models. So you can learn more about that. There's so much information available online about that. Let's go to some Rovo-specific prompt tips. Don't forget, when you prompt your agent, you can get some rich formatting out of it by telling it to use Markdown. Markdown's a very simple format that can render things like tables and emojis and that kind of stuff. Now, when you get Rovo set up on your instance, we have lots of 20-plus agents out of the box. Think of these as templates you can go copy, and you can inspect their prompt. So these prompts here that I'm showing here, don't worry, they're all available in the in-product agents that are templates for you to copy, change, manipulate, and use them as they want. So this example, we're going to tell it to use, agents are really good for checking for standards and consistency. So read this document, give me a red circle if it doesn't have this, an orange circle if it has this, and a green if it does, and then format the results in a table. It knows how to do that. So you can create much richer experiences for your users. The second tip is have a think about creating a welcome mat. When you turn up to someone's house, sometimes you see a dirty, ugly welcome mat on the floor that you wipe your feet on. This one, you don't wipe your feet on, but it's super handy for people that can ask your agent, what is it that you do? Assume people will open up your agent in chat in some scenarios and say, what do you do? So this is a good way to tell your end users how they might use this agent, give them tips and tricks and that kind of stuff. Rovo Agents already come with out-of-the-box conversation starters, which is like 3 things you could ask it. But if you'd like to include more, think about having a welcome mat for your agent. The welcome mat is just a prompt. Tell it, when you're asked, give the user these 5 options of things you can do. Tell the user you can't help with these things. Just write those instructions that you have in your mind straight in natural language for that agent. Next tip is sometimes you might want to ask the agent to not say anything if it can't help. Now, when would you want to do that? You can take agents and you can put them in automation rules. Who is familiar with Atlassian automation or automation rules? Oh, most of the crowd, cool. Actually, we never asked. Who's created an agent, a Rovo agent? Oh, cool, awesome, all right. You're in the right talk. Yeah, good on you. So you can take an agent and you can put it in automation rules, which all of you are familiar with. So what's an example? Imagine I have a bug triage agent. So any new Jira issues coming in, I wanted to check to see, can it improve the bug report? If it can, give me a response. If it can't, don't say anything. Just don't comment or anything. So this example, the automation rule in Jira is when a new work item is created, pull in the bug triage agent, check to see if it has a response. So I've told the agent here in my prompt, do not play back the bug report if you don't have anything to add. Just say no response. And if you do have a response, comment. So it's a really good way if you want to put agents in automation rules to comment. Tell it not to say anything or tell it to say no response or something, and then you can design your automation rule to accommodate the agent's response. That's that one there. So this is an example of the agent commenting with its suggested response there on the Jira ticket. Another tip is don't forget agents can follow templates and structures. So in this example here, we have an agent that helps with product requirements and helps your teams write product requirements. Again, you can copy this agent out of the box, tweak it, make it work for your organization and your spec template or your requirements template. And you can execute this agent inside chat. And you can say, when someone asks you, so this example here, use this Atlassian goal, paste link. Based on that goal, generate me a requirements document. And it goes ahead, it reads the Atlassian goal, and generates a proposed draft requirements document based on the template you've given it in its prompt. So you can give agents templates and ask it to follow and apply those templates in the response to users. The second last tip here, or last tip, I can't remember, you'll find out next, is to remind you to guide the agent with specific steps. Write the steps that you would like it to do. Step 1, ask the user this thing. And if they provide a link, then do this next thing next. So this example here is the Jira release notes agent that's also available to you out of the box. It says, firstly, ask for a Jira link. What do you want me to generate release for? Or ask for a specific sprint. The user types it in. We take that, and then we generate the Confluence page with the results. So based on this JQL query or these Jira issues you asked me to do, here's the proposed results. So you can have these interactive modes where agents can ask users for input, and they can pass back to the user and go ahead and do that. So those are just some of the tips that we have learned along the way for building agents. A reminder, all of these are available in our out-of-the-box agents. You can copy them and inspect them and copy someone else's agent. Like you copy a Confluence page, and you like the formatting of it, and you can steal bits. Same thing here with agents. You can copy someone else's agent, steal the bits that you like, tweak it to make it your own. That's the instructions for the agent. But don't forget, agents also have brains, and we call this the knowledge. All right, so Jensen will walk us through, not agent. She's not an agent, nickname. I promise. She'll walk you through different ways to add agent knowledge.
Awesome, thanks. So when we talk about knowledge, we're talking about the brain of your agent, right? And there's a few different reasons why you would give it all knowledge or you'd give it specific knowledge, and so we'll kind of walk through the reasons you would do either. So when you look at agents, you go inside a studio, you're in the agent creation experience, and you can set this knowledge, right? So you can say you have access to Confluence in a specific space or a project or a specific space or page content tree. You could do a specific Jira project. You could even say, oh, I want you to look at goals and projects or Google Drive or Slack, and we have a bunch of different connectors, right? We talked about over 50, and then also our first-party tools, so the things we talked about. We're soon adding the ability to grab specific files. So if you wanted to say, okay, you actually only have access to this PDF file, right? So maybe you have a playbook that's like been printed out by marketing and you want to create an agent out of that. That's something you can do. So by default, your agent has access to all knowledge. So if you're going to build an agent, it has this toggle here, and it says, okay, you use all knowledge. So that's every knowledge that you've connected through a Rovo third-party connector and your first-party data. So if you've connected Slack via Admin Hub, Rovo has access to that, and that agent has access to that. So something you would want to do for this is like a general onboarding agent maybe to the company, and you want to be able to find information, or you want to generate content, and you want it to know everything about your company. That would be a reason. Or you want to customize it to be specific knowledge. So for example, I have a page at Atlassian about how to create Rovo agents, right? So a lot of people have written pages about Rovo agents, but I think mine's the best, so I want it to just look at that page. So now people can go into it, they can ask about questions, and it will guide them through that. It will direct people to my engineering team to make sure we're putting people in the right place, and it's giving all the information it needs. So sometimes you want to be really, really narrow with your agent. It depends on the purpose. And keep in mind, if you did also want to have no knowledge whatsoever, so no company knowledge, no custom knowledge, you just want to talk to an LLM, like you want like a vanilla GPT, if you just toggle that on, but select no knowledge, you can also do that. So that is something as well. The next thing is your agents have actions, or these are your abilities, right? What is it able to do? So we have a collection of, I think we're at 45-ish actions available now, and we have a goal to add hundreds in the next few months. And these are third-party actions as well. So there's a bunch of stuff like create Jira ticket, or create a Confluence page, create a calendar invite. And we're adding more and more and more. So this will continue to grow. One tip here, though, is don't give your agent every action, right? Like know what you want it to do, and that will help it perform better. If you give it 100 actions, it gets a little bit confused, right? So be very specific with what use case you're trying to solve. You probably don't need an agent to do 50 things, so just make sure you know what it is. So let's talk about automations. I think this is the least known power of agents. So most people are making agents, they're using it in chat, they're using it in editor. Automations is my favorite. All of my agents are in automations pretty much. It's my favorite thing to talk about. So let's sort of walk through that. So there's two different things here. You have simple automations, intermediate automations, and we'll walk through an advanced use case together. But you could have something really simple like when a Loom meeting is recorded, I want you to read that transcript, write a summary, and put it on a Confluence page, or put it on a Google Doc, or send a Slack message of that summary to my team and let them know that I had this meeting with action items out of it, right? Or you can get more into an intermediate use case where you're adding those if statements. So this is the same one Sharif walked through earlier. So I want to walk through a more advanced one that's going to be that knowledge creation, right? So Sharif mentioned the workflow we're trying to solve. We want it to create knowledge-based docs, do a bunch of different things, so we got to get a little bit more advanced. And bear with me, it gets a little bit complicated, but I want to make sure we tell you when you go home today, you could build this exactly from the slides. So when we think about this, we're going to start with a automation trigger. So in Confluence and Jira automations, you have hundreds of different things that can trigger these events. So we're going to do it based on every day at 9 o'clock, I'm going to schedule this. Depending on how many tickets you have, you could do this weekly, you could do this daily, you could do this monthly. It really depends on what your volume is. But I'm going to say every day at 9. Then I'm going to pull in my knowledge-based librarian agent. And that's that agent we built earlier that had that needs article, needs update, doesn't need article. And we're going to prompt it. So let's pull this prompt open. It's really big, don't worry, I'll go through each section. So we'll start at the top. We're going to make this output JSON objects. So if you remembered that tip earlier, it was format how you want the output to be. So a JSON object is basically saying, I want it to spit it out in this exact format so I can use these pieces later. So I'm going to say, when you do this object, I want you to give me a type, a topic, a title, and a link of the Jira issues that this is assigned to. Okay? Another tip, repeat it. Say it multiple times, like really embed it home. Tell that agent what you want. Don't feel rude. Be really passive aggressive about it. It helps sort of get it set. Okay, so we'll do that. Then we're going to use capitalization, right? It's funny, it works. Trust me. Just put it in caps. It listens better. So make sure you're really, really specific about what you want. And then give it some examples, right? So I give it a few examples so it knows exactly how I want it to be. Because the thing is with automations is if it had an extra thing in there in that JSON, it's going to affect my output. I'm not going to be able to use it. We know this is a limitation. We're adding it to the product. But for now, if you want to build this, this is what you have to do. So I did it again. And then again, I repeated myself a few times. And I was really specific that I don't want quotes. I don't want any brackets. Like specifically no formatting, just JSON. So now, what this means is I can take each of those objects, so those bracketed items there, and I can actually have it run multiple times on it. So if I got 50 JSON objects back, I can branch on it 50 times. Okay? So this is where that more and more and more and more thing happens, right? So I don't want to make a KB for every ticket. I want a KB for every topic. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to compare those things. So if we go back to that prompt, remember I had that object here, and there's those specific types, topics, titles, and Jira issue links. When that JSON object does that and I branch it, that essentially turns those into smart values. So if you're familiar with Jira automations, you can use smart values within these nodes. And so I could say, OK, well, check if the topic type is needs article. So I'm going to specifically make a branch that says, we're writing new articles. I'm going to make a branch that says, we're editing articles. And I'm going to ignore the ones that are already good. So now I'm going to grab another agent. So I have the knowledge creator agent. And this one specifically is writing these pages for me. Okay, so I'm going to say review the topic. So that entire JSON object, that also includes a Jira issue links. So that means it's going to go read all of the Jira issues that prompted that topic to get created. And it's going to write me a new KB. And it's going to bring in the context of the comments from my support team to make sure that I'm doing the right thing in that KB.
Jensen, quick question.
Yeah.
Why did you add a second agent? Why didn't you just extend the first agent?
So I decided to make a second agent because I wanted to be a little bit more specific with it. Technically, for this agent, I could have done a different one. Done the same one because I put the JSON inside of the automation itself. So you could take that JSON section and say, oh, I'm actually going to put that in the knowledge base librarian instead. But we put it in here. And I like the second agent because I can be very specific about the formatting that I want that output to be. So I want my knowledge base articles to be written with this specific template, with this specific style, and I want to change it to be a little bit different too. And I can also assign the creator of these articles to be a specific agent. And I think that fits a little bit better with the knowledge base creator because it now has a log of all the pages it's written. That make sense?
Got it, boss.
Sweet. And then the last step I want to do is just to keep track of what knowledge base it's done, and I want to review it. This is optional, but if you'd want to make sure that you're looking at the pages that it's written, you could add a task to a Jira log, for example, that says, hey, I want you to review this page I just wrote, and go change it from ready for review to published or verified or whatever you want to do there. And then you can specifically, when you're creating these agents that deflect tickets, make sure they're only looking at those verified articles. So here we're creating a task for every page created. I was actually showing the wrong screen, that's why you couldn't see that. And so this is saying review this new article, assign it to the right person, and go ahead and switch that to, you could set the automation to also be like, when the Jira ticket says done, then update the page to be verified. You know, you could automate the whole thing. Sweet. Okay, awesome. So that's that automation. I didn't go through the edit article time just for time, but I'll make sure we publish a blog that sort of explains how to do the whole thing.
All right, so we've just finished our agent. Let's think about testing it and deploying it before we check out and make sure we understand how it works. So we got 3 big tips in this area for testing your agent. The first thing is break it down into smaller chunks. As you just saw, we had actually 2 agents doing a similar job. This is very good for troubleshooting and very good for actually making improvements. We have one agent creating the articles, the other agent doing the analysis. This means that we can test them independently and make sure they work together. And so we can open one out, make sure it works well, and then open the other one out and make sure it works well. Another tip is if you feel like the agent response is not quite working as you were expecting, is try to break down testing individual parts of your prompt. Let's say you have 2 paragraphs with 2 different sets of instructions, and you're thinking, it's getting confused a bit, something's going on. What do you do in a real-world problem? You try to break it down to smaller chunks. So in this case, let's get rid of the second paragraph. Let's see the results of the first paragraph. Have a look at it, troubleshoot it, make sure that's right, and then add the second paragraph in there as well.
One thing I forgot to mention is in those automations, there's a node that's called log action, right? And so if you want to test this out before you publish it or before you run it on anything and see what that response is, throw those in there everywhere. Like, highly recommend throwing log actions as nodes.
Yeah, and then when you add a log action node, it appears in your automation log when the rule has run, and it'll tell you it's spat out this thing. And so you can try to go, what happened here and where did it go wrong and that kind of stuff. The second thing is, just like sometimes your kids do some unexpected things, or my kids do at least, ask it, why did you do that? What made you do that? What went wrong? Do exactly the same thing with AI. So sometimes AI will return something that's unexpected. Ask it, why did you do that? And sometimes it'll tell you, I did it this way. And another tip is say, what do I have to tell you next time so you don't have to do that again? It's just like children, it's exactly the same thing. And it actually works. Or give me an idea of what I could prompt back to you so that you don't make this mistake again. And the agent will return back, here's a suggested prompt for what to put in my instructions next time to help you do that. So feel free to interrogate, ask your agent questions in all caps if you want sometimes, or without all caps, up to you. I tend towards be nice in case one day, maybe something, but maybe, if you want to be risky, you can do that as well. But ask it questions, go back and forth with it. What can I do next time so you don't get confused, all that kind of stuff. So talk to it like you would just talk to a colleague, like what happened, what went wrong, what can we do next time to make that better? Like exactly what you would do there.
Yeah, looks like we might have a question.
Question, yeah, if you have a question and you want to come down as we go, if you just go to a mic, that would be awesome. Or I'll repeat the question if it's easier for you.
How fine-grained can those explanations be? I mean, is it just, I looked at the wrong thing or something like that, or can it like give detailed steps about its reasoning process? Yeah,
Robo was asking a question: how fine-grained can I get with the prompt explanation? You could go as much as you like. You could say, with the instructions I just gave you, break down for every third word what your current thinking is before you proceed to the next 3 words. And it'll try to do that for you. So, ask it to think slower is really effectively what you're doing throughout that process. I like these questions as we go. Yes, gentleman in the green shirt.
Question. So my company's been using Confluence for a few years, using tags all over the place. Is it best practice to keep using them, or is there no use for tags anymore?
Ooh, maybe I could ask you a follow-up question. What were you hoping to achieve by tagging all those documents?
Help searching. So if I want to find things about VPN, we would tag certain pages, VPN topic, and it made it easier to find things. But seeing this stuff now, I'm like, is there any value in keeping the tags, or keep doing it, or just get rid of them?
This is actually orthogonal to agents, so this would work just with Rovo as our search improvements in cloud. So tags do improve search in cloud, but generally speaking, are you in cloud or data center, sir, if you don't mind me asking? Cloud, yeah. There are so many other things that affect that algorithm. Did you recently see it? All that kind of stuff. But generally speaking, you shouldn't have to tag as much. But yeah, you could also create a Rovo agent that auto tags if you like, if you're doing something else with those tags. Yeah. That's a great use case as well. Like, I met a customer yesterday that tags an article every 90 days as needs review to make sure, did this document stale? And then has another agent to check all the articles, tags, needs review, raise a ticket in the IT help desk, and ask them to review the knowledge base docs. 2 agents working together, auditing stale documentation, notifying the other agent, so you can do that as well.
I just thought of a new one. So a lot of people misspell tags. Could an agent correct the spelling of certain tags and kind of standardize it?
Only if you ask in capital letters. It'll do that for you. But yes, it totally can. Actually, man, agent, I'm really bad with typos. Jensen knows.
Oh, I think we both are.
And they would just make you be more lazy because you just type anything and you're like, it'll work it out. It's really good that find some more tags. I see someone with their hands up excited about that.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, the last tip here is to test agents in chat first. So we showed you a bunch of stuff in automation. Remember, every agent you have, you can also just open up Rovo Chat and chat to it directly. Now, that might not be how you intend to use it when you release it. Let's say you might have an agent that only runs in automation and you don't intend for people to use it in chat. But chat is a really good way to just test it and do that. So refine it, break it down, all that kind of stuff. in chat.
Especially with the JSON, because you need it to be really specific. And so if you throw that in chat, you're going to immediately see if it's going into like the right objects.
That's right. Yeah, and it doesn't return the format you're after. Tell me what I could do to make sure that doesn't happen again, right? So keep going through that. All right. You have hopefully done some testing. You've played with it. You've tried debugging in automation. You've also tried debugging in chat. You've treated it like a 5-year-old and asked it questions. How do you get feedback from your end users, the people that use your agent? If you happen to be using your agent in chat, this obviously won't work in automation. One of the things you can do is embed smart links inside agents. Smart links are embedded experiences for different things. So a pro tip that we've seen lots of Atlassian staff and customers do is if you're a Microsoft Forms customer, you have Office 365, or a Google Drive customer, you use Google Forms, you can tell the agent, after you've answered a few questions, you could be vague, you could tell it after 3 questions or whatever, or if the user asks politely, show them this form. You know, if you want to make your CSAT look good, only do that politely. If the user looks upset, don't show them the form. You can do whatever you like with this. But yeah, you could do this, and it'll embed the feedback form straight in line. Our team also wants to do a ton of work to give you more agent insights and analytics. So stay tuned for that. So you'll also get metrics on your agents and how they're being used. That's currently being worked on. So you'll get a lot of that as well. But if you want some qualitative feedback, this is an excellent way to get that qualitative feedback. The other thing you could do is you've tested it, you've got some feedback from your customers. Don't forget, you can also embed agents. So if you copy the agent link, so there's a little copy button next to every agent, you can embed it in Confluence and Jira and any Atlassian app that takes smart links. So in this example here, Jensen is known a bit to be the agent expert at Atlassian, and she gets hassled a lot for what agents can we build and how do I do this? So she's created a Rovo Agent Builder Helper. So the person who works on agents has created an agent to help other people create agents. Not confusing at all. And she embeds that on a Confluence page in a space, and people can go and interact with it directly. There's conversation starters available there, so when you click on it, it'll take you through some guides on how to go do that and self-serve, right? Trying to deflect that repetitive work, get people to self-serve themselves as well. All right, so that crazy automation rule, the advanced one that Jensen set up earlier, what does it look like? Well, we have a whole bunch of Jira issues here. Remember, our first agent goes through and analyzes each issue and then puts them into those different categories if it needs an article and if it doesn't need an article. It identifies those opportunities and does that. And then the knowledge-based librarian, the other one, scans for the creator, scans the documents and sees what's available. And then it goes and loops through for each category. Let's create a draft article that's available there. Now, it goes and creates and publishes the article. So now you've got agents creating drafts for the tickets that you get repeated workflows for. You could tell it to then notify me when you're complete, create a task in my team's backlog to review your work, whatever it is you would like to do. But you've kind of automated that whole end-to-end flow, going from that long workflow that you did to now an agent that does that was it every month?
I did mine every day, but you were doing it
every day,
yeah.
Up to you. So to recap, the 3 things Jensen and I went through today. Hopefully, we've given you a little bit of framework for identify the opportunities in your team, have a whiteboard session with your team, draw that flow, write the high-level steps, and for each step, write the tasks. And then work out which opportunities exists there. And also make yourself aware of where agents, or where these new teammates can work inside your portfolio of different Atlassian apps. When you configure your teammate, don't forget you can give it knowledge from your first and third-party sources. You can also tell it to have no knowledge as well. You can define where you want the agent to appear in chat, in the editor in Confluence and Jira as you're writing, or in Atlassian automation. And don't forget, automations really help you accelerate and get power out of those agents as they work. When you're deploying the agent, don't forget those testing tips. Ask it why to do that. Ask it again. Use chat to test, or an automation at the log node to see what its results are. You can embed those feedback forms, and don't forget to share the agent links with your teams, or embed them in your other Confluence pages.
And share what you did with your team, right? So like that one that we talked about, Andy, that we quoted, he rolled this out, and he also uses like the JSM service agent. And Rennie, like I'm probably gonna do the stats wrong, but it was something like he started with 4% deflection, and I think he got to like over 28% in 3 weeks. Like think about how much time deflecting service tickets, and that's one project. So if you build something that's really powerful, share it with the rest of your team to make sure that they can rebuild it. And this like knowledge-based librarian example is a minute example, and then you just clone it, right? You clone it, you change it, you tweak it. Maybe you don't want to make knowledge. Maybe you want to do something else in repeat. Maybe you want to make Jira ticket ideas, like you're making JPD ideas based on feedback. It's all the same, right? Like those Lego blocks are the same, you just tweak it. So share it with everybody.
And fun fact, if you all give us Rovo feedback in the product and you press the feedback button, it comes to our teams. We have an agent that reads and analyzes that feedback, summarizes it, groups into different themes, and helps us to identify what's changed. Ooh, it looks like there was some bad feedback about this new recent change or whatever it is, and we can quickly jump in and respond and work out what's going on. So these are the different flows that we use.
We would never find bugs that quickly, right, if it was humans.
That's right.
Thank you, everyone.
Oh.
We are wrapping up now. We will have more resources, so they will be online, and we will also have Jensen and Sharif do another webinar on this. Thank you.
Oh, great.